Hello. Good to have you all here. I've gone closer in this week, which is week 8 of the Absolute Beginners class, Drawing and Painting, Hostos College. Now, last week we used the brown paint, and you'll remember I used some of these brushes, and we did a very loose shading off the face using brown paint. Now you could either use, you may have different tubes than these, but the colours will be the same. You can either use this brown, burnt umber, or this brown, burnt sienna. They're both good. And I'll use the burnt umber. Last week we used the burnt umber. And I'll just go over it again. We were doing the bits where the light was coming on the face. So I've got the shadows here. Now, the important thing when you're doing painting is that you try to get the paint to go with the shape of the face. You know, you're not just putting it on like square lumps. You have to be sensitive. Your hand must be sensitive. Your heart must be sensitive. Your brain must be sensitive. Just as you wouldn't stroke a baby with a rough hand like a rowboat, but a gentle, delicate, loving hand. The same thing with the painting. So try and put your love into it. Okay, now I'm doing the hair quickly. Somebody asked me about hair this week, and I said, you can leave it to last. You know, we'll talk about hair painting at the end, because you can do that very quickly, because the main things are, if you think about it, although you may not like it, you can live perfectly normally with or without hair. It's not vitally important to life. It's important to looks and appearance in your mind, but it's not important to how you live, breathe, hear, eat, smell and taste. The real things of life. So, you know, we can leave it to the last. So, I'm going to just quickly go over last week's business. So just the shadowing here. One half of the nose is slightly darker, so I put that shadow there. Here's a shadow. Shadow around the eyes. And you have a cheekbone here, so I'm just putting a little sense of a cheekbone there with this. Okay, this is kind of like a recap from last week. And the top lip is always darker. Remember, all of these things that I taught you when we were drawing the face still apply now while we are painting. Okay, and the shadow under the chin. So, that's a quick, very quick recap of last week's. We're going to intensify it this week by taking 3 colours, brown, whichever brown you have, burnt umber or burnt sienna. The names are on all of the tubes written there, usually in well, this one's in Chinese and English, but usually it's in Spanish and English and French. So, brown, black, and white paint. This is the next layer of the underpainting. When I do a drawing or a painting, I like to have the feeling that the eyes are looking back at me, so I'm not completely kind of lost in the painting. So if you have a mirror, I'm looking at a mirror just now, or you have a selfie that you've taken of your face, that's fine. Look at it and then start to use the smaller brush that you will have in your set that you've purchased either from the place that I recommended, Blick Art Store, an entire box of a whole semester's equipment for $42. Normal price $150, your price $42. So take the brown paint, my eyes are brown. If you've blue eyes, obviously that will come later, but we're doing everything just in these three colours. It doesn't matter anything about hair colour, shade of face, anything like that is unimportant just now. We're all working with the same process. Three colours, brown, black and white, okay? So I'm going to make the eye here brown. And this smaller brush you can use for making things finer and more detailed. So I'm going to do the shape of the eye around here. You can see, watch me how I'm painting it. And in there like that. Now I've got the two containers here, the water, one for cleaning the brush and the other one for painting with. Remember I told you that last week, you want to keep one clean and one dirty. And in the eye here, the middle, the pupil of the eye as it's called, is going to be black. So there you have it. That's him. And I'm going to make the brown a little darker around the edge here, so I'm putting some black with the brown. Now, from the pencil drawing and everything, behind the eye it's a little bit misty, so I'm just going to go over in white where you have the white of your eye. That's the purpose of having the white out, for the white of the eye, okay? And in the eye itself, I'm just going to put a little lighter tone. You can see that, the little light on the dark there. Can you see that? Little bits of light, you know, just to bring it out. Now, some of you, I've looked at the work and it, you know, it's really fantastic what some of you are doing, absolutely incredible. Some of you have obviously never painted in your lives or shown any inclination towards it. So you will just have to work at your own pace, you know, as you know from talking to me. As long as you do the work and you try your best, even if you're not very good, you'll do fine, but you must put the effort in and try your best. It's like basketball or singing. Everyone wants to be a good basketball player, but only very few can actually throw the ball through the hoop every time. Everybody wants to be a good singer, but not everyone can be something to listen to. It's the same with painting. Unless you're working on it every day to improve yourself, if you're not very good, like a basketball player could do to make their bodies stronger and able to jump and more aim, you know, that's the thing that you would have to do yourself in your own time. No one can force you to do that. That's if you really want to learn how to paint and treat it seriously. It's a work of dedication. So I'm doing the eyes here, bringing them out. So I'm going to go on with the same mixture, and with this I'm going to be more refining what I've got here. Refining means making more detailed, so I'm going into the nose that I started with you last week. I'm using black and brown, so I can make the brown super dark or medium dark or whatever. You know, that's just keeping it simple for you. Just 3 colours, black, brown and white. So it's almost like you're painting a kind of black and white version of your face, black, brown and white version of your face before you start to do the skin shades, the flesh. Okay. I'll just put the eyebrows in here. Oops. And you're bringing it to life bit by bit by bit. Just going to make the hair a bit darker up there. So it stands out there. That's good. So I'm going to go under the eye now. You're looking a little bit more detailed now from last week, which was just loose. Remember, I always say start loose, finish tight. So last week we started super loose, and this week we're getting more tight. Now these brushes will come from the set that's in Blick box 12. And you're working on the smaller canvas. I sent an email on CUNY First to all of you, reminding you that this is the 18 by 24 canvas, the smaller of the 2 canvases. The bigger one is for the freestyle painting you'll do later. Now, I went over the drawing of the ear with you, and I remember telling you that luckily most people don't look at the ears unless there's something really strange about them. And the strange things about ears would be 2 high, one low and 1 high. No one has that. Or just, you know, just the bad positioning. That would be the main thing. But other than that, don't worry too much about the ears. Okay. So we're working down at the bit. I'm on a table this week to try and keep this from dripping too much. So I'm going to put the cheeks in here. They come from the edge of the nose, down there. Put that dark shadow under the nose. And you'll remember the lips from the drawing exercise. I'm going to make the lips more sharp. So you're actually looking more closely this week at your own face and drawing it more with the brush. So I'm going to make the top lip quite a bit darker. And then the bottom lip quite a bit lighter. Well, not like super, like 2 different lips, but one is darker at the top and lighter at the bottom. If you look at your lips, it looks like that. Something with shadows. Shadow underneath the lip, and I'm making the shadow darker by putting black with the brown. So I'll do a bit more under the nose. And under the chin. Now it could be a good thing if you have tissue or rag or some sort of paper I'm using, just to take away too much water and paint that's on the brush. Okay. So I'm going under there with a bit more work this week. Sharpening up into there. Now you can keep going on at this, you know, because You know, some of you do it all at the last minute, which of course is going to result in a really last minute looking painting, which will be not so great, but you can't force people. So I'm going to just make it a little bit lighter in here. I'm using more white now on this side. So I'm just going to put a little bit there with that. And a light above the lip here, just to make it stand out. And then you use the other brush for blending. You know, most of this now is blending colour. And we're only starting with the, you know, later I'll go into all the colours. But we're only starting with these three colours so you don't get overwhelmed with all the different colours. And you're shaping things, fixing things. Every week you can fix. If one week it looks like a mess, the next week it might really be fantastic to work with that and get through it. Now I'm going to put a light around here, so I'm using the white paint and then blending in. So I'm bringing back the chin. Bringing back this bit here, lighter. You're softening and lightening, you know? That makes sense. Lighter here, lighter here. Go back into the eyes a bit, you know, and bring them up a bit more to life. Put a little bit lighter there. And here, lighter cheeks. The thing is just to let time go away. You know, try not to be addicted to the cell phone and the internet, because that uses your time in a certain way, and it's the same kind of mentality that you should have when you're painting. But when you're painting, the time is different because there's more space in your head. When you're doing internet and phone stuff, the time goes away, but there's less space in your head because you're cramming it full of different things. With painting, you're making space in your head so you feel less anxious, less depressed, more relaxed, more yourself, less full of other people's lives and opinions and all that nonsense, and more full of your own spirit because you've got more space. That's the importance of painting, as opposed to spending all your time on digital devices which are made by man. Kind, right? So I'm going to put some dark around him so he stands out. So I'm just taking, you know, you can put any background you like around this face later. But I'm taking the brown paint. Actually, I'm going to get a bigger brush for this, or else it's going to take ages. I'm taking the brown paint and just going to go round the edge of him here, so that there's a background behind it which is dark. Like I said, you could do any background later. You could do a city behind it, or you could do a forest and trees, or a sky, nature, doesn't matter. You're just, at this stage, blocking in the painting and it's called an underpainting. And a lot of you have never done this. This is professional techniques of how to make a painting look real. So far, you know, you've seen what we're doing. We've gone in a bit tighter with the small brush, which you will have in your packet. I've worked up the eyes a bit. Do the difficult things first, you know, the eyes and the nose and the mouth, so that they're not always kind of waiting there like scary things. And then you can start to do the other stuff later. Skin tones, the flesh, build that up. But just using those three colours, black, white and brown, we are starting to sharpen up the tones using the smaller brush, getting in a bit deeper onto the face, and hopefully you'll become less self-conscious and more able to let yourself go into the process of painting with enjoyment, you know, rather than fear. Don't forget, I'm not a judgmental character. You know, I'm taking each one of you as you are. I know some of you are really not very good at painting, and that's okay. I don't expect you to be geniuses. I just would like you to try your best, and that's all that matters, and that will work out in the end. In terms of the grading, you'll be fine. So just do your best that you can. And as I said, you can talk to me at any time, send a text, and I'll try and respond as soon as I see it. And that will be that. So I'm going to do a little bit more shadow on this side of this thing here. A little bit more shadow under the nose. You can see how it keeps going. I mean, I'm trying to give you a sense of the whole process. It keeps going over and over. You're building it up in layers. It's like an onion skin. There's the first layer of the onion, then there's the second layer, and third layer, and fourth layer. You know, and we're still at the early layers. You know, we haven't done the skin tones or any of those layers yet. So this is just the three colour undertone. This week we introduced the new colours, black and white. Last week we just had the brown. So we're getting more into it, you know, and with this brush you can make things look more real. Now I'm going to look at my face. I've been talking and painting, and I haven't been looking at my old face here, so I'll put, my hair's going grey, so I'll put it's gone grey during the pandemic. So hopefully this is making some sort of sense to some of you, and that you'll be able to take this forwards into your life's art career and painting, and whether it's a hobby or something serious, you can do it. Now I'll turn that round just now. So this week, building it up a bit more closely using three colours. We'll leave that layer for this week. Three colours. Black. Where am I getting? There we are. Black, brown and white. Okay, and then you're building up the next layer. And I've just thrown in the background. Look at that. So you can see that. There we are. That's this week's. So it's like you're kind of sharpening it up a bit and looking a bit closer and making things more jump out, you know. And once you have that done, and that's before we're doing any flesh, once you have that done, it's like building a house. You've got a good foundation so that the painting doesn't look like complete nonsense and really not good, because a good house can survive a storm because it's got a good foundation. A house with no foundation, the first storm, and it just blows away. Same with a painting. It's a foundation here that will hold up as you paint and create a good painting. Okay, that's it for this week. Week 8, painting and drawing, Hostos, over and out.